The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the Starweaver, its crystalline hull catching starlight in mesmerizing patterns. In the ship's primary observation chamber, Chief Researcher Valon adjusted her sensory appendages, carefully monitoring the quantum signatures of this previously unmapped sector. After 15 cycles of peaceful exploration, she had grown accustomed to the quiet routine of deep space research. That quiet was about to end. Chief Researcher called out Navigator Zell from his station, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with anxiety. Unknown vessel detected at bearing Mark 73. Energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. Valon glided across the chamber, her hover field humming softly as she approached the navigation console. The vessel's profile appeared on the main display, its design unlike anything she'd seen in her centuries of exploration. Angular and dark, it bore none of the flowing organic lines common to known space-stirring species. Instead, it bristled with what appeared to be weapon emplacements, though they were unlike any weapons she'd encountered before. "Fascinating," she whispered, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her initial concern. "Begin standard first contact protocols. Let's show them the hospitality of the Galaxian Science Academy." The Starweaver's communication array powered up, broadcasting the universal greeting sequence, a carefully crafted series of mathematical constants that had successfully initiated peaceful contact with dozens of species. Valon watched expectantly as the signal propagated through space. The response came instantly, but not in the form they expected. Multiple energy spikes detected. Zell's voice rose in pitch. They're activating weapons systems." Valon's outer membrane rippled with disbelief. No species had ever responded to the greeting sequence with hostility. There must be some mistake. Broadcast the sequence again. Add the peaceful exploration markers. A brilliant beam of energy lanced past the Starweaver's port side, missing by mere units. The ship's sensors registered the weapon's composition, some form of concentrated plasma, but far more refined than any known designs. "Receiving transmission," announced Communications Officer Airy, her crystalline form vibrating with tension. "Audio only, unknown language." "Play it," Valon ordered, maintaining her scholarly composure even as emergency protocols activated throughout the ship. A harsh, commanding voice filled the chamber. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Naval Ship Harbinger. You have entered restricted space and performed unauthorized scans of a military vessel. Stand down immediately, or we will respond with lethal force." The bridge crew froze. Terran. Human. The stories were true. Valon had read the restricted reports, of course. Rumors of an aggressive species on the rim of known space, one that had somehow developed faster than light travel while still maintaining a warrior culture. But most had dismissed these as exaggerations or cautionary tales. "Airy, prepare a response. Explain our peaceful intentions and—" The ship shuddered as another warning shot passed Hegan closer. The humans' targeting was incredibly precise. They could have destroyed the Starweaver with that shot, but chose not to. "Chief Researcher," Zell called out, his voice steady despite his pulsing morning colors. "Their targeting systems are unlike anything we've encountered. They've already mapped our entire defensive grid. How can they? We haven't even fully analyzed their sensor capabilities." Valon processed this information quickly. The humans weren't just advanced. They were advanced in ways her people hadn't even considered. While Galaxian technology focused on understanding and harmony, these humans had perfected the art of warfare. "Send response on all frequencies," she ordered. "Captain Chen of the Harbinger. I am Chief Researcher Valon of the Galaxian Science Academy vessel Starweaver. We are a peaceful research vessel conducting standard exploration protocols. Our scans were purely scientific in nature." "Your scientific scans," Chen's voice cut through, "penetrated our hull to a depth that revealed critical systems architecture. That level of scanning is considered an act of aggression under Terran Space Force regulations. You will power down all active sensors and prepare for boarding." Boarding. Valon's membrane rippled with alarm. Direct contact between species without proper quarantine protocols was unprecedented. Captain, please understand. Our protocols require careful preparation for physical interaction. We cannot. A new alarm blared through the chamber. Zell's voice rose in genuine fear. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Energy signatures. They're harvesters. Valon's hearts nearly stopped. Harvesters. Cybernetic pirates who stripped ships and sold their crews to the highest bidder. They were supposedly myths, bogeymen used to frighten young researchers away from unmapped space. 3 massive ships materialized around them. Their twisted forms a nightmare of organic and mechanical parts. They immediately opened fire, not at the Starweaver, but at the Harbinger. The human ship's response was immediate and shocking. Instead of retreating from the numerically superior force, it accelerated toward the nearest harvester vessel. The Harbinger's previous precision gave way to an unleashed fury that seemed to confirm every story about human warfare. They're protecting us, Zell whispered in disbelief as the Harbinger positioned itself between the Starweaver and the harvesters. But why? Valon watched as the human ship executed maneuvers that should have torn it apart, its weapons finding weak points in the harvester ships that their own sensors hadn't even detected. In that moment, she understood something profound about these humans. They weren't simply warriors. They were protectors. Power up all defensive systems, she ordered, her voice firm. Zell, plot an escape course. Belay that. A new voice cut through their comms. Captain Chen again, but with a different tone. Your shields are more advanced than ours. We'll handle offensive operations, but we need your defensive capabilities, unless you prefer to take your chances with the harvesters alone. Valon looked at her crew, seeing her own fear and curiosity reflected in their bioluminescence. They had come seeking new scientific discoveries. Instead, they had found themselves in the middle of a battle alongside the most feared species in known space. Coordinate shield harmonics with their weapons' frequency, she ordered. Let's show these humans that science has its own kind of power. As the Starweaver moved into formation with the Harbinger, Valon couldn't help but feel that this was more than just a battle for survival. It was first contact of a kind she had never imagined, one forged in fire and necessity rather than careful protocol. A massive explosion lit up space as the first harvester ship succumbed to the combined might of human warfare and Galaxian technology. But even as they fought together, Valon knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge wouldn't be surviving this battle. It would be bridging the vast gulf between their species once the fighting ended. Her thoughts were interrupted by another transmission from the Harbinger. Multiple signatures detected. It's their mothership. Hope your science is ready for a real test. Researcher Valon. Looking at the massive form emerging from FTL, Valon realized that humanity's aggressive nature might be exactly what the galaxy needed. Sometimes, understanding had to be earned through fire. The Harvester mothership emerged from the darkness like a twisted cathedral of metal and bone. Its hull a patchwork of stolen technologies from countless civilizations. On the Starweaver's observation deck, Valon's scientific mind automatically began cataloging the various components, even as her survival instincts screamed warnings. Energy readings are off the scale, Zell reported, his bioluminescence dimmed to almost nothing in fear. That ship, it's bigger than anything in our database. Receiving transmission from the Harbinger, Ari announced, her crystalline form vibrating with tension. Captain Chen's voice filled the chamber, tight with controlled anger. We've encountered these bastards before. That's a Class 3 high ship. The whole thing's a living organism merged with stolen tech. Conventional weapons barely scratch it. Valon processed this information, her analytical mind racing. You've fought them before. Our records show no species has survived direct contact with a Harvester mothership. Yeah, well, your records are incomplete. Chen's laugh was harsh but not unkind. Humanity's got a bad habit of surviving things we're not supposed to. 3 years ago, they hit one of our outer colonies. We lost a lot of good people, but we learned their weaknesses. The problem is, we don't have enough firepower to exploit them. Not even with your shields. The mothership launched its first attack, not energy weapons, but a swarm of smaller craft that moved with organic fluidity. They weren't ships so much as extensions of the mothership itself, each one a perfect fusion of stolen technology and biological horror. Those swarm units, Valon observed, watching them move with disturbing coordination. They're operating on a quantum-entangled nervous system. Fascinating. If we could disrupt the signal, save the scientific observations for later. Chen cut in, though there was a note of interest in her voice. Focus your shields on our port side. We're going to try something stupid. The Harbinger suddenly accelerated toward the swarm, its engines pushing to limits that made Valon's instruments scream warnings. The human ship's maneuverability was incredible, but the swarm was everywhere, their attacks coordinated with horrifying precision. Their biological components, Valon used, watching the swarm's attack patterns. They're not just coordinated, they're learning, adapting to our defense patterns in real time. That's what makes them so dangerous, Chen confirmed. But biological systems have limitations. Your shields are holding better than ours against their attacks. Why? Valon's membrane rippled with sudden understanding. Our shield harmonics. They're based on natural resonance patterns designed to adapt to stellar phenomena. The Harvester's biological components must be sensitive to certain frequencies. Can you modify those frequencies? Turn them offensive. That would violate every principle of defensive technology design. Valon protested, but her appendages were already moving across the controls. It would transform a protection system into a weapon. Welcome to humanity's greatest hit, Chen replied grimly. Taking things meant for peace and turning them into weapons. Not proud of it, but it keeps us alive. Another wave of swarm units surrounded them, their attacks growing more coordinated. The Harbinger's point defense systems were incredible, destroying dozens of attackers with each burst, but there were hundreds more. Chief Researcher, Zell called out, his colors showing urgent warning patterns. The mothership is moving into position. Energy readings suggest, by the first stars, they're charging something massive. Valon made her decision. Reconfiguring shield harmonics. Captain Chen, I'm sending you a data package. If you can match your weapon frequencies to these patterns. Already on it. You're not the only ones who can adapt quickly. The Harbinger's weapons changed tone, their energy signatures shifting to match the Starweaver's shield frequencies. When the next wave of swarm units attacked, they met something new. A combination of Xylaxian harmonic science and human weapon engineering that tore through their biological components like a virus. The swarm units began to break apart, their perfectly coordinated movements degrading into chaos. But the mothership was still coming, its massive form now pulsing with gathered energy. All power to forward shields. Chen ordered. That thing's about to. The mothership fired, its weapon a beam of pure destruction that combined every technology it had stolen. The combined shields of both ships barely held, and Valon felt the Starweaver's hull creaking under the strain. Shields at critical, Zell reported. We can't take another hit like that. We won't have to. Chen's voice was filled with grim satisfaction. Look at their weapon ports. The biological components are rejecting the energy throughput. Your shield frequencies did more than disrupt the swarm. They've started a chain reaction in the mothership itself. Valon watched in fascination as the massive vessel began to turn against itself, its stolen technologies fighting against its organic core. The harmonics are causing a cascading failure in their integration systems. Captain, if we hit them now, while the rejection reaction is at its peak. Already targeted, but we'll need everything you've got. Your science turned their biology against them. Our weapons can finish the job. Together. Together, Valon confirmed, feeling a strange pride in this fusion of their capabilities. Zell, divert all power to the harmonic generators. Ari, link our targeting systems with the Harbinger. Let's show these harvesters what happens when science and warfare find common ground. The combined attack that followed would be studied by both species for generations to come. The Starweaver's harmonics ripped through the mothership's biological systems, while the Harbinger's weapons exploited every weakness, striking with surgical precision, at points Valon's sensors identified as critical. The mothership's death throes lit up space like a new star being born. As the explosion faded, leaving only scattered debris, an unexpected silence fell over both ships. Well, Chen's voice finally came through, carrying a mix of exhaustion and respect. I guess we owe you an apology for the whole aggressive scan thing earlier. And we owe you an apology for our assumptions about human warfare, Valon replied, her membrane rippling with amusement. Perhaps we both have much to learn from each other. That's putting it mildly. Our sensors are picking up more harvester signals at the edge of the sector. This was just a scouting force. There's something bigger coming, isn't there? Valon checked her own readings, her scientific excitement warring with deep concern. Yes, much bigger. The question is, Captain Chen, are your people ready to fight alongside scientists? Are your people ready to turn more of your peaceful technologies into weapons? The question hung in space between them, heavy with implications. Valon looked at her crew, seeing in their patterns and colors the same realization she had reached. The galaxy was changing, and survival would require both species to change with it. Perhaps, she suggested, we could start by exchanging data about our respective encounters with the harvesters. For scientific purposes, of course. Chen's laugh was warmer this time. Of course, purely scientific. While we're at it, maybe we could discuss how to integrate our targeting systems with your shields more effectively. For peaceful purposes, naturally. As the two ships began their information exchange, Valon couldn't help but wonder if this was how most species felt when they encountered humans, caught between fear of their warrior nature and gratitude for their protective instincts. One thing was certain, the galaxy would never be the same after this day. The observation deck of the Starweaver had been transformed into an impromptu war room, its usual serene atmosphere now filled with holographic displays showing tactical data and sensor readings. Valon watched as Captain Chen paced the deck, her movements precise and controlled despite the artificial gravity being calibrated for Zylaxian physiology. The harvesters have hit 17 colonies in the past solar year, Chen explained, manipulating the holographic display with practiced ease. We thought they were random attacks at first, but look at the pattern. Valon's sensory appendages tingled as she analyzed the data. They're mapping defensive capabilities. Each attack tests a different aspect of colonial defenses. Exactly. They're not just harvesting resources, they're gathering tactical data, building a comprehensive picture of our strengths and weaknesses. Chen's expression hardened, but they made one crucial mistake. They revealed their own technological limitations. Valon finished, her scientific mind racing ahead. Each attack showed not just what they could do, but what they couldn't. The biological rejection we triggered wasn't a fluke. It's a fundamental weakness in their integration systems. The door membrane rippled as Zell entered, his colors showing excitement. Chief Researcher, we finished analyzing the debris from the mothership. The results are unexpected. The new holographic display showed microscopic images of the harvester technology. Valon felt her outer membrane ripple in surprise. These neural pathways, they're not just integrated with the technology, they're evolving to accommodate it. The entire ship was becoming a single organism. That tracks with what we've seen, Chen nodded. Every time we encounter them, their ships are more integrated, more efficient. They're not just stealing technology, they're absorbing it, learning from it. A technological parasite, Valon mused. Fascinating and terrifying. Captain, a new voice crackled through the comm system. Lieutenant Commander Rivera, from the Harbinger. Long-range scouts are reporting back. We got multiple signatures approaching the sector. Biggest fleet we've ever seen. Chen's face remained calm, But Valon had spent enough time studying human expressions to see the concern in her eyes. How long? 48 hours at current speeds. They're not even trying to hide their approach. Because they don't need to, Valon realized. They want us to see them coming, to know that even with our combined strength, we're still outgunned. Chen finished. But that's nothing new for humanity. We've been outgunned since we first reached the stars. Hasn't stopped us yet. The observation deck's door membrane rippled again as Aerie entered, her crystalline form catching the light from the holographic displays. Chief Researcher, we've completed the integration of the human targeting algorithms with our shield harmonics. The results are remarkable. Our defensive efficiency has increased by 47%. And our weapons are hitting twice as hard with your shield frequencies. Chen added, but it won't be enough. Not against a fleet that size. Valon moved to the central display, her appendages dancing across the controls. Perhaps we're approaching this from the wrong angle. We've been thinking about defense and offense as separate systems, but look at what we achieved against the mothership. The combination of our technologies created something entirely new, a cascading rejection effect. Chen nodded, moving to stand beside her. But scaling that up to affect an entire fleet would require more power than both our ships combined could generate, Valon acknowledged. But what if we didn't need to affect the entire fleet? Look at these neural pathway patterns. They're all connected, all part of the same evolving system. Understanding dawned in Chen's eyes. Hit one, hit them all. Like a virus in a network. Precisely. But to generate a strong enough initial pulse, Valon's calculations raced across the display. We would need to get very close to their command ship. Close enough that whoever delivers the pulse probably wouldn't survive. Chen finished quietly. How many of your people would volunteer for a suicide mission, Valon? The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. Valon's outer membrane rippled with emotion. We are scientists, Captain. Our entire civilization is built on the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. The concept of sacrificing lives for victory is something humanity has too much experience with. Chen's voice was soft but firm. In our history, whenever we faced extinction, there were always those who stepped forward, who gave everything so others could survive. And now you would do the same for us. For a species you just met. Chen's laugh was surprisingly warm. You know what the really stupid thing about humans is. Once we decide something's worth protecting, we don't really care who or what it is. Could be our own people, could be aliens we met 5 minutes ago. Hell, I once saw a Marine risk his life to save an alien plant because it looked lonely. Valon's sensory appendages registered increased heart rate and respiratory activity from the human captain, signs of strong emotion. Your people are truly remarkable, Captain Chen. Perhaps frightening in your capacity for violence, but equally impressive in your capacity for sacrifice. Yeah, well, let's hope we can find a way to end this without any sacrifices. Chen turned back to the tactical display. How long would it take to modify one of our shuttles with your harmonic technology? A few hours. But the power requirements? Leave that to us. Humans are pretty good at making things go boom when we need to. Chen's smile held no humor this time. What we need from you is a way to protect the pilot long enough to deliver the payload. Valon moved to another console, bringing up shield schematics. We might be able to modify our personal defense fields, create a bubble of protected space within the rejection field. But Captain, even with these modifications, the chance of survival. Never tell me the odds. Chen cut her off. Just make it work. I'll worry about finding a volunteer. You mean you'll volunteer yourself? Valon observed. Chen shrugged. Like I said, humans are stupid that way. Besides, I've got a score to settle with these bastards. They took something from me 3 years ago. Someone. Before Valon could respond, new alarms blared through both ships. Zell's colors flashed urgent patterns as he checked his instruments. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. But these readings, they're not harvesters. The space around them lit up as ships began appearing. Hundreds of them, their designs a mix of organic and crystalline forms that Vylon recognized instantly. "The defense fleet," she whispered. "But how?" "We've been monitoring your transmissions." A new voice filled the chamber, speaking perfect Silaxian. "When we detected the harmonic weapons signature, we knew something unprecedented had occurred. The Council has voted, Chief Researcher Vylon. For the first time in our history, we go to war." Chen watched the new arrivals with professional appreciation. "Friends of yours?" "The combined might of 17 peaceful species," Vylon explained, her voice thick with emotion. "Captain, it seems humanity has inspired more than just our crew. The galaxy is changing, and you have shown us how to change with it." "Ha!" Chen smiled, watching the massive fleet take up defensive positions around them. "And here I thought we were just going to blow stuff up." "Oh, we'll still do that," Vylon assured her, her own version of a smile rippling across her membrane. "But now we'll do it with style." The Harvester fleet was coming, but they would find something they had never encountered before: the combined might of humanity's warrior spirit and the advanced technology of a galaxy finally ready to fight back. As Vylon watched the defensive preparations begin, she couldn't help but wonder if this was the moment all their species had been evolving toward, the day when wisdom learned to wear armor, and warfare learned to serve peace. Space itself seemed to bend as the Harvester fleet emerged from FTL, their ships a nightmare amalgamation of stolen technologies and twisted organic matter. The combined defense fleet held position. 17 species united behind human combat tactics and Zylaxian defensive technology. On the Starweaver's bridge, Vylon watched the enemy approach with scientific detachment, but her outer membrane rippled with barely contained emotion. "Count is 347 Harvester vessels," Zell reported, his colors steady despite the tension, "including 5 ships larger than the mothership we encountered." "They've been busy." Captain Chen's voice came through the calm and focused. "Good thing we have been too." Status on the harmonic pulse device. "Final calibrations complete," Vylon confirmed, checking the readings one last time. "The modified shuttle is ready." "Captain, are you certain about?" "Save it." Chen cut her off, but gently. "We've been over this. The shuttle needs a human pilot to handle the maneuvers, and I'm not ordering anyone else to do this." The first wave of Harvester ships accelerated toward them, their organic components pulsing with sickly light. The defense fleet held formation, waiting for the precise moment their combined technologies would be most effective. "All ships," the fleet admiral's voice resonated through all frequencies, "execute battle plan horizon." The space between the fleets erupted in chaos. The Harvester's first strike was met with a perfectly coordinated defense, Zylaxian shields flickering in harmony, while human weapons found their marks with devastating precision. Ships from both sides began to fall, their deaths lighting up the void. "Enemy adapting to our shield frequencies," Aerie reported, her crystalline form vibrating with the strain of maintaining communications across the massive battlefield. "They're learning faster than projected." "Of course they are." Chen's laugh was dark but unwavering. "That's why we're not trying to win conventionally." "Vylon, start the countdown." "I'm heading to the shuttle." Vylon moved to object, but her instruments showed what everyone already knew. The Harvesters were too numerous, too adaptive. Even with their combined forces, they couldn't win a prolonged engagement. Their only hope lay in the desperate plan they'd conceived, a fusion of human courage and Zylaxian science. "Launch bay reports ready," Zell announced. "But Chief Researcher, the latest simulations show the survival probability has dropped to less than 3%. "Never tell me the odds." Chen quoted herself from earlier, and Vylon could hear the fierce grin in her voice. "Just keep them busy and get me my opening." The battle intensified as the Harvester fleet recognized the threat of their combined technologies. Their attacks became more coordinated, more desperate. They understood now that they faced something new, species working together in ways they had never encountered before. Multiple hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, Erie reported. Emergency fields holding but failing. Harbinger reporting critical damage to their port side. Zell added. Their weapons are down to 60% efficiency. Vadalon watched as the battlefield shifted and changed, her scientific mind analyzing patterns even in the midst of chaos. They're not just adapting to our attacks, she realized. They're hurting us. Captain, they know. Of course they know, Chen replied, her voice now coming from the shuttle. They're not stupid. They know we got something planned. That's why we're going to give them exactly what they expect, just not how they expect it. The shuttle launched from the Starweaver's bay, immediately taking fire from multiple directions. Its shields, a hybrid of human and Galaxian technology, held firm as Chen piloted it through the chaos with impossible skill. All ships, execute pattern break, Chen ordered. Just like we planned. Make it look good. The defense fleet began to fragment, seemingly breaking under the Harvester assault. But Vadalon saw the brilliance in the strategy. They weren't retreating. They were creating channels, forcing the Harvesters to commit to specific attack vectors. Enemy flagship detected, Zell reported. By the first stars, it's massive. The Harvester command ship emerged from behind its screen of escorts, a behemoth that dwarfed even their largest vessels. Its surface writhed with organic technology, countless weapon ports tracking Chen's shuttle as it approached. They're powering up something big, Erie warned. Energy readings off the scale. Now, Chen's voice cut through the chaos. All ships, execute Sunburst Protocol. Every ship in the defense fleet fired simultaneously, their weapons synchronized to create a massive energy surge that overwhelmed the Harvester's sensors for crucial seconds. In that moment of artificial darkness, Chen's shuttle made its final approach. Harmonic pulse charging, Vadalon reported, watching the readings from the shuttle. Captain, the containment field is already starting to fail. You need to. Been an honor, Vadalon. Chen cut her off. Teach them about us, will you? Make sure they understand that humanity came to protect, not just to fight. The shuttle impacted the Harvester flagship's hull, burrowing deep into its organic superstructure. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself seemed to scream as the harmonic pulse detonated, its frequencies amplified by the flagship's own neural network. The effect was beyond even their most optimistic projections. The rejection cascade tore through the Harvester fleet like a virus through a body, their stolen technology turning against its organic hosts. Ships began to break apart, their components rejecting each other at the molecular level. Multiple ships self-destructing, Zell reported, his colors showing disbelief. The entire enemy fleet they're tearing themselves apart. Vadalon couldn't celebrate. Her sensors were focused on the flagship, searching desperately for any sign of Chen's survival. The human captain had known it was a one-way trip, had accepted it with characteristic bravery. But still, chief researcher, Erie's voice cut through her thoughts. We're receiving a signal. It's coming from inside the flagship. A familiar voice, weak but unmistakable, filled the bridge. So, funny story. Looks like some of your probability calculations were off. Vadalon. Found a nice little pocket of stable space in here when everything went sideways. Could use a pickup though. Place is kind of falling apart around me. Vadalon's membrane rippled with joy and disbelief. Launch rescue shuttles immediately. All ships maintain defensive positions until we can confirm total victory. As rescue operations began, Vadalon watched the remains of the Harvester fleet drift lifelessly through space. They had done it. Against all probability, against the very nature of their civilizations, they had prevailed. Humanity's warrior spirit and the combined scientific knowledge of 17 peaceful species had created something entirely new. A force that could defend without losing its soul, fight without forgetting its purpose. You know, Chen's voice came through again, stronger now. We should probably talk about making this arrangement permanent. Your people have the science. We've got the experience. could be the start of something interesting. Looking at the battlefield, at the ships of 17 species who had chosen to stand and fight alongside humanity, Valon knew that something interesting had already begun. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what they had been fighting for. The Great Hall of the Zalaxian Science Academy had never hosted such a diverse gathering. Representatives from 18 species filled the crystalline chamber, their forms ranging from the purely energy-based to the definitively physical. At the center of it all stood Captain Sarah Chen, still bearing the marks of her incredible survival, and Chief Researcher Valon, her membrane shimmering with formal patterns. The harvester threat has been eliminated. Valon addressed the assembled delegates, her words automatically translated by the chamber's advanced systems. But more importantly, we have discovered something unprecedented, a way forward together. The human delegation, led by Admiral Harrison, sat with characteristic alertness despite the peaceful setting. They had entered the galactic community through combat, but their presence here showed they were capable of much more. In the past 3 standard cycles, Chen added, we've confirmed that no harvester vessels remain active in known space. Their neural network, which gave them their greatest strength, ultimately proved to be their undoing. When the harmonic pulse triggered the rejection cascade, it spread through their entire collective consciousness. They couldn't adapt fast enough to their own technology turning against them. And yet, a crystalline delegate chimed in, their form refracting light in patterns of concern. We must address the fact that humanity's first major interaction with the galactic community was through warfare. How can we be certain this partnership won't lead to further conflict? Chen smiled, but it was Valon who answered. I had similar concerns when I first encountered the Harbinger. But I've learned something crucial about humans. They are not warriors because they love violence. They are warriors because they are willing to fight for what they believe needs protecting. More than that, Admiral Harrison spoke up, his voice carrying the weight of experience. This battle has taught us something vital. Humanity has always believed we had to be ready to fight because we were alone in a hostile universe. Now we know better. We're not alone, and we don't have to carry the burden of defense by ourselves. The chamber erupted in discussion, hundreds of voices blending together as species that had never considered military action now grappled with its necessity. Valon raised her appendages for silence. What we propose is not militarization, she clarified. Rather, we propose integration. Humanity has shown us that defense does not require us to abandon our principles. It requires us to apply them in new ways. Chen stepped forward, her uniform pristine despite her recent ordeal. The Harbinger and the Starweaver proved that human tactical knowledge combined with advanced peaceful technology creates something greater than either alone. We're not asking you to become warriors. We're offering to be your guardians, while you help us become something more than just fighters. The Harbinger Initiative, Valon announced, bringing up a holographic display of a new ship design. A joint project combining the best of all our species, ships staffed by both human military personnel and scientific researchers from various species. Not weapons of war, but vessels of exploration protected by humanity's defensive expertise. The display showed more than just ships. It showed training facilities, research centers, and cultural exchange programs. A complete integration of humanity's protective instincts with the advanced peaceful technologies of the galactic community. We stand at a crossroads. Admiral Harrison addressed the chamber. Humanity has always advanced through conflict, but we dream of peace. You have achieved great peace, but now understand the need for defense. Together, we can create something unprecedented, a galaxy that is both peaceful and protected. The harvesters taught us all a harsh lesson, Chen added, unconsciously touching the healing wounds from her miraculous survival. There are threats out there that can only be faced together, but they also gave us a gift. They showed us what we can achieve when we combine our strengths. Valon moved to the center of the chamber, her membrane displaying patterns of utmost formality. The Science Academy has already voted. We will share our advanced technologies with humanity, under the condition that they be used for the protection of all species. In return, humanity will share their defensive expertise, teaching us not to become warriors, but to be ready when warfare finds us. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Centuries of peaceful advancement had left the galaxy vulnerable to threats like the Harvesters. Humanity's arrival, violent though it had been, offered a solution that preserved peace while ensuring survival. There is an old human saying, Chen offered into the silence, "Si vis pacem, para bellum." If you want peace, prepare for war. But maybe it's time for a new saying, if you want peace, prepare together. The voting was swift and nearly unanimous. As the chamber erupted in celebration, Valon found Chen standing by one of the crystal windows, looking out at the stars. Having second thoughts about becoming diplomats, Valon asked, noting the human's contemplative expression. "Nah," Chen smiled. "Just thinking about how much paperwork this is going to create almost makes me miss the simple days of just shooting at things." "I've been meaning to ask." Valon's membrane rippled with curiosity. "How did you really survive the harmonic pulse? Our calculations showed it was impossible." Chen's smile turned mysterious. "Let's just say humans have a talent for surviving impossible situations. It's kind of our thing." She turned to face the celebrating chamber. "Besides, I couldn't die before seeing this. Every soldier dreams of being part of something that leads to peace." As the celebrations continued, new ships were already being designed, crews assembled, and plans made. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where the wisdom of peace and the necessity of defense would walk hand in hand. Humanity had found its place not as conquerors or mere warriors, but as protectors, teachers, and students all at once. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if they too approved of this new path forward. In the end, it hadn't taken a victory over the Harvesters to change the galaxy. It had taken understanding between species who had thought themselves too different to ever truly work together. And somewhere out there, in the vast darkness between the stars, other threats might be lurking. But they would find something unprecedented waiting for them. A galaxy where science and strength, peace and protection, wisdom and warfare had learned to coexist in perfect balance.